From Iron Man to icon, the rise of Johnny Unitas. In the great story of American football, there are a handful of names that just feel bigger than the game itself. They're the legends you hear about over and over, the ones whose influence shows up in every huddle, every last-minute drive, and every young quarterback's dream. One of those names is Johnny Unitas. People called him Johnny U, or the Golden Arm, and he wasn't just out there winning games. He was rewriting what it meant to be a quarterback, creating the blueprint for the position as we know it today. A rough beginning, the Pittsburgh Kid. Johnny Unitas wasn't born into privilege, and he definitely didn't come through polished talent pipelines. He grew up in Pittsburgh during the Great Depression in a family that knew what real struggle looked like. His father passed away when Johnny was still a kid, and his mom, with incredible determination, raised 5 children all on her own. That tough start in life gave him a kind of grit and resilience that would later define everything about his career. By the time he got to high school, Johnny had already fallen in love with football. He played at St. Justin's High, which was far from a powerhouse program, but he made people pay attention. He had a calm presence on the field and a surprisingly strong arm for such a wiry frame. The problem was, he didn't look like the kind of player scouts were searching for. Too small, too raw, and too easy to dismiss. But what he lacked in size and pedigree, he more than made up for with vision, intelligence, and a resilience that seemed to say, "Count me out at your own risk." Eventually, the University of Louisville offered him a scholarship, and from 1951 to 1954, he wore their uniform. The results on paper weren't spectacular, just 12 wins in 4 years, but his leadership and composure were obvious. Still, when the 1955 NFL draft rolled around, nobody thought he had much of a shot. The Pittsburgh Steelers finally took a chance on him in the 9th round, but they cut him before the season even began. For many young men, that would have been the end of the dream. For Johnny Unitas, it was only the beginning. Baltimore calling, from obscurity to opportunity. After getting cut by the Steelers, Johnny Unitas went back to Pittsburgh. He worked construction jobs during the week and played for a local semi-pro team called the Bloomfield Rams on the weekends. He was literally making just $6 a game. Imagine that. The man who would one day be the face of professional quarterbacking was out there grinding against factory workers and part-timers, just hoping for another shot at the big leagues. But fate has a funny way of rewarding persistence. In 1956, the Baltimore Colts invited Unitas to try out. Head coach Weeb Eubank noticed something special in this tough, scrappy kid with a sharp football mind and a strong arm. Unitas made the team as a backup, but fate had bigger plans. Early in the season, starting quarterback George Shaw broke his leg, and suddenly Johnny was thrown into the spotlight. Unitas had a rough debut, throwing an interception that was returned for a touchdown on his very first pass attempt, but true to his iron nature, he refused to crumble. With each game, he grew more confident, more accurate, and more dangerous. By the end of the season, Baltimore had discovered not just its quarterback, but the future of the position itself. Master of the 2-minute drill, Johnny Unitas wasn't flashy. He didn't rely on pure athleticism like some modern quarterbacks. His game was built on precision, intelligence, and nerves of steel. With his flat-top haircut, black high-top cleats, and unshakable presence under pressure, he set the standard for what a quarterback should be. More importantly, he redefined the position itself. Before Unitas, quarterbacks were mostly game managers, content to hand the ball off and throw only when necessary. Unitas turned it into something more, an art form. He read defenses like a chess master, anticipating moves and dictating the game on his terms. And one of the clearest examples of that transformation was his creation of the 2-minute drill. Today, the 2-minute drill is football's ultimate test of composure, a quick, strategic push down the field when the clock is running out. But before Unitas, most teams wasted that time by running out the clock. He saw an opportunity. With sharp passes, smart timeouts, and a near telepathic connection with his receivers, he showed the world how to turn no chance into victory. The most famous example came in 1958 in what is still called the greatest game ever played. The Colts faced the Giants in the NFL Championship, broadcast nationwide to millions of Americans seeing pro football on TV for the first time. Baltimore trailed 17-14 with less than 2 minutes left. Most quarterbacks would have folded under the pressure, not Unitas. With surgical precision and unshakable confidence, he marched the Colts down the field to tie the game and send it into sudden death overtime. Then he did it again, orchestrating the winning drive capped off by Alan Ameche's touchdown. The Colts were champions, but more importantly, that game and Unitas' performance pushed the NFL into the national spotlight. For millions of new fans, Johnny U was their first real look at what a quarterback could be. the Iron Streak. Greatness in sports is rarely about a single heroic moment. True greatness is about consistency, and in that regard, Johnny Unitas was relentless. From 1956 to 1960, he threw a touchdown pass in 47 straight games. That record was so incredible it stood untouched for more than 50 years, until Drew Brees finally broke it in 2012. What made the streak so extraordinary wasn't just how long it lasted, but the conditions he did it under. This was an era when defenses could rough up receivers without fear of penalty. Pass interference was barely called, and quarterbacks had almost no protection from officials. Unitas took hit after hit that would have sidelined many players today, yet he kept getting back up and delivering. Week after week, season after season, he stayed at the top of his game. From 1957 to 1967, he earned 10 consecutive Pro Bowl selections. He won NFL Most Valuable Player 3 times, in 1959, 1964, and 1967. He led the league in passing yards and touchdowns multiple times, setting benchmarks that stood for decades. With Unitas under center, the Colts weren't just competitive, they were a powerhouse. And through it all, he wasn't simply playing quarterback, he was redefining what leadership in football looked like. Hall of Fame and eternal recognition. When Johnny Unitas finally retired in 1973, his legacy was already secure. The numbers spoke for themselves. More than 40,000 passing yards, 290 touchdowns, and a Super Bowl victory in 1970. He had proven himself to be the standard of excellence in an era when quarterbacks took brutal hits and played without many of the protections that today's stars enjoy. In 1979, he was inducted into the Pro Football Hall of Fame as a first ballot choice, which came as no surprise to anyone who had watched him play. His induction speech was humble, with Unitas giving credit to his teammates and coaches rather than focusing on himself. But the moment was still about him, and it became a celebration of what he represented. His career had not only raised the bar for individual performance, but had also redefined what it meant to play the quarterback position at the highest level. Influence on the modern quarterback archetype. Every quarterback you see in the NFL today owes something to Johnny Unitas. Whenever a quarterback steps into the huddle, there's a little bit of Johnny U in how they carry themselves. The pocket presence, the coolness under pressure, the ability to read defenses and make snap decisions. Unitas made those traits part of the job. The idea that a quarterback is the cerebral center of the team, not just someone who throws passes, but someone who orchestrates the entire offense, comes directly from Unitas' style of play. His command at the line of scrimmage, his knack for calling audibles, and his mastery of situational football created the blueprint for generations to follow. Before Unitas, offensive leadership was often shared. After Unitas, there was never any doubt who was in charge when the offense took the field. When you watch Tom Brady slice through a defense in the final minutes, or Aaron Rodgers stay cool and deliver in clutch moments, you are seeing the legacy of Johnny Unitas. The 2-minute drill he pioneered became so fundamental to football that it is impossible to picture the modern game without it. Today's quarterbacks are compared to Unitas not only for their stats, but for their ability to rise when the pressure is at its highest. The Iron Man persona. Johnny Unitas was not just an icon because of his numbers. He embodied toughness. He played through pain that would sideline most players today. From broken ribs to battered knees to separated shoulders, he rarely complained. His teammates described him as unyielding, a man who inspired confidence simply by stepping onto the field. As the clock ticked down, a peculiar calm seemed to settle over him, as if mounting pressure was nothing more than background noise to his focused mind. But what truly makes someone an icon? It is not only talent, it is the ability to connect with people and to transcend a profession in a way that becomes part of the culture. Unitas did exactly that. He became a household name, recognized not just by football fans, but by Americans everywhere. His flat top haircut and black high tops became trademarks. He appeared in advertisements and endorsements, yet he never let celebrity outweigh substance. His authenticity always came through. In Baltimore, his status remains almost sacred. When the Colts controversially moved to Indianapolis in 1984, Unitas cut ties with the organization in protest, standing with the fans who felt betrayed. To this day, statues of Johnny U stand proudly in Baltimore, not just as reminders of championships, but as enduring symbols of loyalty, toughness, and pride. The timelessness of Johnny U at a football has changed dramatically since Unitas's day. Rules now favor quarterbacks, offenses are more pass-heavy, and protections are stronger. Yet when analysts list the greatest quarterbacks of all time, Unitas's name still sits comfortably among them. Why? Because greatness transcends eras. His records may have been surpassed, but his impact can never be erased. The NFL itself recognized this timelessness. In 1999, Unitas was named to the league's 75th anniversary all-time team. He was also ranked the greatest NFL player of all time by the Sporting News. Decades after his retirement, Johnny U continued to command respect, with his influence shaping both the quarterback position and the game itself. A legacy that lives on. Johnny Unitas passed away in 2002 at the age of 69, but his legacy hasn't faded one bit. When the news broke, the outpouring of grief from fans, players, and coaches showed just how much he meant to the game. He wasn't just a quarterback, he was football in its purest form. And even now, more than 2 decades later, his name still carries weight. Young quarterbacks study his film, coaches still reference his leadership, and fans continue to pass down stories of the cool, tough kid who completely changed the game. In Baltimore, his statue stands proudly outside M&T Bank Stadium, a permanent reminder of the man who helped turn the NFL into America's favorite sport. But the real monument to Johnny Unitas isn't made of bronze. It's the quarterback position itself, and the standard of excellence he set that still defines what greatness looks like today. If you enjoyed this video, be sure to check out more NFL content right here on the channel. Thanks for watching.